Well, you would want to know, well, at least the world to know how much money you have, right? Well, I spoke to Kerry Dolan, Assistant Managing Editor at Wealth at Forbes, to find out what goes into actually making the rich list.
I would say about a third of the people talk with us, not either them directly or their public relations handlers. A third of the people do not respond at all. We've got to go based on publicly available information. And there's some people, it's a smaller group that really don't want to be on the list. I mean, there's definitely some people who email me and say, how do I get off the list? The interesting part is the people who want to be on the list, but they want to be on at a higher net worth. And there's some interesting...
They want a higher ranking is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
So this is bragging rights, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And this is usually a subset of the people who own private companies.
Putin over in Russia.
Yeah. Where
a tough
is
one.
Putin on our list? He's not on the list. If we had a clear understanding of what he owns, we would put him on, but we don't know. There's lots of speculation that he's worth 20 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion. I've never seen any real documentation of where that money is parked and how that's been assessed. As best we can tell, I mean, I'm sure he's worth a lot, but we're not going to guess. So until we have a good, clear understanding of his assets, we're not going to put him on. We're not going to guess.
Yeah. So it's hard. I mean, you need proof essentially to, number one, even be considered to be on the list. Noticeable drop in the number of billionaires. Brazil and Russia. What's going on here?
Yeah. So we measure these. It's a snapshot of wealth that we took on February 13th. We use exchange rate and stocks prices from around the world that day, and Brazil and Russia, the currencies are much weaker than they were a year ago. We measure this in dollars. So, and then also, particularly in Russia, oil prices the drop in oil prices affected that. So we lost, we had 111 Russian billionaires last year. We only have 88 this year. We lost a bunch in Brazil, mostly because of the drop in the stock prices in Brazil, and then the currency weakened it significantly against the dollar.
China, number 2.
China.
Number 2, I'm reading a statistic here. It's actually your statistic, but 71 new faces. I know they had a lot of new faces last year, but is this even surprising anymore?
I was frankly surprised, and I was the editor who was going through all the valuations done by our guy in Shanghai, just being amazed because every day some new Chinese would pop up on our database over $1 billion that I'd never heard of. Most of these folks are not recognizable new names. There's a couple new people from Alibaba, the big internet company that IPO'd late last year. But a lot of them, there were 19 IPOs that resulted in some of these new billionaires from China in a variety of industries. Pharmaceuticals, real estate, steel making, movie making. There's a company called DMG Entertainment that helped produce Iron Man 3. That's a public company. They got a new billionaire. So it's really across the board, and it's a lot because of the stock market and the IPOs are going through the roof there.
I can't help but notice that, look, that's great. There's all these rich people in the world, and that's wonderful. But you have a whole segment of the population that is going to have a hard time to identify with this interview. What does this list say, if anything at all, about the global economy and the state of the world?
I think it says two things. Yes, there is this growing gap between the very rich and the rest of us. But at the same time, a lot of the folks that are on here, most of their net worth is tied up in the company that they founded. Most of them are founders, right? So 2/3 of the list are self-made as opposed to inherited wealth. And so a lot of those folks are starting companies or have started companies that employ people. So, you got sort of a mixed picture. Some of them are definitely very self-indulgent and have homes around the world and fancy cars and private planes. And, it's hard for us to relate to that. The rest, none of us do, right? So, but a lot of them then are philanthropically active too. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have started this thing called the Giving Pledge. It's been going for a number of years, and they're trying to get a lot of the people on the list to promise to give away at least half of their net worth. And they've got more than 100 people signed on. They've got a long way to go because we've got 1,800 billionaires, but they're working on it.